VADS, that's V like Victor, A, D as in David, and that stands for Vulcan Air Defense, which is actually a missile that fires projectiles and bombs. VADS. Wave Technology, Light Technology, Acoustic Technology, X26, X26E, EMD, OC Spray, Shotgun 12 gauge, multi-launchers, V as in Victor, M as in Mary, S as in Sam, VMS. And then M like Mary, 315, 12 gauge beanbag, 12 gauge M1021 fin stabilized Army, 12 gauge fin stabilized USMC AA31, 12 gauge M1013 crowd dispersal Army, 40 mm M1029 crowd dispersal Army, 40 mm rubber ball, 40 foam baton, 40 mm M1006 sponge grenade, rubber ball grenade, M5 MCCM Army, 12 gauge launching cartridge, M84 stun grenade Army, M315 munitions, flashbang, lethal blunt trauma, M99 non-lethal blunt trauma, and 12 gauge beanbag. It says in item number 14.2.9, range usage. Any established range may be utilized for non-lethal weapons training and qualification, IAW, the Camp Ripley range operations. Okay, now we're going to get into all of what all that means in layman's terms in just a moment, but I'm going to show you some pictures that came directly from Camp Ripley's Facebook page this morning. This is a picture of one of the most recent training of law enforcement agents of all stripes. State troopers, deputy sheriffs, local police departments, Hennepin County, Ramsey County, and just about every law enforcement agency in the state of Minnesota has or is training at Camp Ripley. This is a picture of just some of them. On one particular day they were training. That's a lot of cops out there, folks. And somebody who we know quite well questioned, well, who better to do riot control than the police? Do we really want the military doing that? If, you know,
the police are trained by the military. Is there very much difference?
Well, and the police, most of them are former military.
Yeah, they are.
So there's no divider line anyway.
And this military training that they're getting is really, well, never mind. That's making an assumption that I shouldn't make, so go ahead.
Well, just as our worrying is getting us in trouble by creating blowback here for our own citizens, so is this stuff.
Yeah.
Going to create blowback in all kinds of new ways.
Because
guaranteed.
Violence begets violence.
That's right. And they're training to create violence on American citizens.
Yeah.
This is another picture of I think this is a bear cat. And I'm not sure what agency this is, but this was at Camp Ripley during one of their police trainings. Here's another one that's the Minneapolis Mobile Unit. And by the way, our own county here has just gotten a drone recently. They got a grant to get a drone, and they got a grant to have a special training mobile unit to be able to control and monitor the drone. But there's no public policy to do with drones in this county or our city council, because I went to the city council and asked that we have a drone policy back in 2012, I believe that was.
Years ago, yeah.
And it was blown off. We didn't need that.
Right.
Yeah, right.
So just to encapsulate here, what's happening is that the police are going to the military to learn how to perpetrate violence on Americans.
Or better hone their military skills that they learned when they were soldiers.
Right.
Because frankly, folks, almost all cops, at state troopers, all of them,
We're in
We're
combat.
our former military.
Combat
Our own Little Falls Police Department. I could name them by name. I know a lot of them are former military. And I won't name names, but state troopers as well. I know of at least one. The state trooper that's assigned here, I know because I asked him recently if he was former military, and he said yes. In fact, he was training at the base that Pat Tillman was stationed out of when Pat Tillman was killed by friendly fire, and then of course our government lied about that. Okay, so to get into these...
And not that we have a problem with veterans, let me just say this. We don't have a problem with veterans, we have a problem with people who come back from combat with their brains scrambled.
Well,
people with PTSD.
which is almost all of them.
Yeah.
How can they not?
And then they're handed a gun and told to go, take care of Americans. What do we expect? Okay.
Well, killing is killing. Once you
Yeah.
are
Once you learn how to
trained,
do that.
once your conscience is broken so that you can slaughter another human being, I'm sorry, the person's identity and the country of origin isn't going to make a hill worth of difference.
Yeah.
It just isn't. And for most of our cops who don't honor the Constitution, and I don't say that lightly, I don't know that the majority of, I'll take that back, a huge number, way too big of a number of our cops, law enforcement agents of all stripes, from all those different agencies I just mentioned, are not honoring the Constitution and don't give a rip about the citizens of their country's rights. Or they wouldn't be able to go out and dismantle and tear down and burn up other people's property in the occupation at Standing Rock. Mm-hmm. Our cops, Sheriff's Department, and all kinds of other agencies went out and did that. And that was free speech.
Yeah.
They trampled all over it.
Yeah.
They could have just as well put a giant porta potty over the whole encampment and all took a big dump on it. Because that's what they did. They crapped on Americans' rights.
Absolutely.
I mean, let's tell it like it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
What they did was absolutely, I won't use the
heinous.
S word, but it was
just shocking,
crappy.
and chilling to watch.
Crappy.
What they were willing to do.
Illegal and crappy.
Yeah.
And they learned it out here at Camp Ripley. Mm-hmm. That kind of behavior and action is okay. No, it's
not
not.
only okay, it's approved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, an LRAD is this, a long-range acoustic device developed by LRAD Corporation to send messages and warning tones over long distances or at a higher rate of volume than normal loudspeakers. LRAD systems are used for long-range communications in a variety of applications, including as a means of non-lethal, non-kinetic crowd control. They have been called sonic weapons because when you get near an LRAD and they're sending out that beam, that sound wave, you can't stand to stay there. Your eardrums would break if you stayed in that area.
This loud noise and bright lights, that's another thing you mentioned as part of their non-lethal arsenal.
Right.
These are torture pieces. That's
they
where
are.
they started. They came from torturing prisoners of war with unbearably loud noises and bright lights.
And here's another disturbing factor. Most of these non-lethal weaponries have been used in our wars of aggression already, such as in Afghanistan. Most of these techniques that I'm going to talk about, including especially this VADS, this Vulcan air defense system, were used in our former wars. And now Camp Ripley is training these, and has been for a long, long time, folks. This isn't something new. They've been training our law enforcement agents to use this stuff on us. Even during our peaceful protestation. Walking onto the freeway in the Twin Cities, the Black Lives Matter that shut down the freeways, whether you like it or not, folks, was free speech.
Yeah.
They had every right to do it. And if you don't think so, okay, if a little kid gets out on the road in the Twin Cities and shuts down the freeway, do our cops have a right to come in there and use an LRAD system to get that kid off the road?
Right.
Put things in perspective, okay? Now I'm going to tell you a little bit about VADS, Vulcan Air Defense. That's VULCAN, Vulcan Air Defense, is a self-propelled anti-aircraft gun that was used by the United States Army. The M168 gun is a variant of the General Dynamics M61 Vulcan rotary cannon, the standard cannon in most U.S. combat aircraft since the 1960s, mounted on either an armored vehicle or a trailer. This is an acceptable riot control on our people. I mean, come on. And my voice is raised, and you can tell that I'm hot right now.
Pretty heated, yeah.
And it is because if this doesn't make you angry, folks, what will?
Well,
When it's used on you,
yeah, that's
when
what
it's used on your sister or brother,
or child.
standing out, or an innocent person that isn't even part of a protest and gets harmed by one of these things, or even if they are there as a form of peaceful protestation.
Do they deserve to die?
Right. Okay, so that's all I'm going to say about this, except that the gun fires at 3,000 rounds per minute in short bursts of 10, 30, 60, or 100 rounds. Or it can fire in continuous fire mode at a rate of 1,000 rounds per minute.
That's like so fast you can't.
And that, folks, I want to remind you, is the number one, no, excuse me, it's the number 3 listed technique that they're training on at your beloved Camp Ripley. It ain't my beloved Camp Ripley. It may be yours, it's not mine. I disagree with so much of what Camp Ripley stands for and does, which is almost everything.
Yeah.
Our soldiers were ordered to Iraq, an illegal, unconstitutional invasion and occupation. And we had huge amounts of them sent over to Iraq. They did horrific things. Many of them live in the city. There's, I'm told, 300 former veterans from the Iraq-Afghanistan wars that live in this city. And they did terrible, unconstitutional things, maybe more graphic and horrible than what was done during the Vietnam War. Also illegal. Okay, so U.S. military unveils non-lethal heat ray weapon. A sensation of unbearable sudden heat seems to come out of nowhere. This wave, a strong electromagnetic beam, is the latest non-lethal weapon unveiled by the U.S. military this week. And this article is from 2012, March. You're not going to see it. You're not going to hear it. You're not going to smell it. You're not going to you're going to feel it. And this is, the effect is so repellent, the immediate instinct is to flee, and quickly, as experienced by AFP at the presentation. So this is a wave of heat that's up on top of a military vehicle, just like that, that sends a heat wave that's so strong if you stayed there, you'd get burned up. It'd kill you. That's another weaponry that's considered non-lethal. But if you can't flee, let's say, for instance, it's a little kid that's suffering from Asperger's or some other condition, and he absolutely, or she absolutely freezes up from terror. Or a person who's disabled or partially disabled and can't get away from that.
Or even someone with asthma who, in response to that blast of heat, has an attack and is unable to run because they can't breathe.
Even people who have COPD
Yeah.
would suffer enormously worse than a person who didn't have it if they were at protest and the military or cops, either one, would use this non-lethal weaponry on them. It could indeed kill them.
So again, non-lethal, as they define it, is from a far enough distance so that nobody dies.
So we're going to have to move quickly now because we got a lot more to cover here, but the Active Denial System, ADS, is a non-lethal directed energy weapon developed by the U.S. military designed for aerial denial, perimeter security, and crowd control.
What is aerial denial? Is that keeping other flying vehicles from entering the space?
Keeping them out of that space. Right. Informally, the weapon is also called the heat ray. So that's the same thing we were just talking about. Since it works by heating the surface of targets such as the skin of targeted human subjects. Raytheon is currently marketing a reduced range version of this technology. The ADS was deployed in 2010 with the United States military in the Afghanistan war, but was withdrawn without seeing combat. On August 20th, 2010, The Los Angeles Sheriff's Department announced its intent to use this technology on prisoners in the Pitchess Detention Center, stating its intent to use it is in operational evaluation in situations such as breaking up prisoner fights. So they were going to use our people imprisoned as guinea pigs to see how long it would take them before they'd flee from the heat. Okay? This is a whole other article that I printed under Wikipedia, non-lethal weapons, also called non-less lethal weapons. Non-deadly weapons, compliance weapons, or pain-inducing weapons are weapons intended to be less likely to kill a living target than conventional weapons such as knives and firearms. Non-lethal weapons are used in policing and combat situations to limit the escalation of conflict, where employment of lethal force is prohibited or undesirable, where rules of engagement require minimum casualties, or where policy restricts the use of conventional force. Okay, here's another article, you might want to look it up, called The Pentagon's, and this is dated January 22nd, 2013, The Pentagon's Wall of Light Laser Shield. The Joint Non-Lethal Weapons Directorate is developing a laser-based shield that could create a wall of light in the air. No time to go into this, but now lasers are going to be used against us and as non-lethal weaponry.
Right.
And by the way, they are firing on the bombing ranges at Camp Ripley with laser beams to blow things up. That's a fact. Came right from their website.
Wow.
The M5 modular control munition, that's the MCCM that I talked about in this, what they're training on at Camp Ripley, is a non-lethal direct fire device used to disperse, incapacitate, and deny access to large groups of people with percussion and flashbang, along with the impact from 600 high-velocity rubber and plastic balls moving outward towards the crowd. It can be deployed and set up by troops, mounted or dismounted, and detonated via a command wire. It's similar in use and design to the M18A1 Claymore mine. A mine, but is non-lethal. Used for aerial denial, standoff situations, crowd control, i.e. outside embassies, by law enforcement and military services. The MCCM is effective to around 30 meters, covering a 60 to 80 degree horizontal with a minimum safe standoff distance of 5 meters from the face of the device. Okay, this is something interesting. This was on the Camp Ripley website, showing two different drones, and it says, Star Wars Day, may the 4th be with you. And it was a telling the people to have a good 4th of July. I don't know if they train on these particular drones. Those are real drones, probably owned by the military, and it wouldn't surprise me. Remember, folks, Camp Ripley has a $3 million drone facility, a building that we paid to erect, and a brand new landing strip for all the drones out there. And now this is from the U.S. Department of Defense, U.S. Army non-lethal weapons information. And it lists airburst non-lethal munition, non-lethal capability sets, solid-state active denial technology, wideband gallium nitride, monolithic millimeter wave integrated circuit, productability related to solid-state active denial technology, and we've just mentioned all of the stuff related to this. Developing and fielding non-lethal weapons, the Marine Corps and Army approach. Laser weapons bring sharp advantages to the battlefield. Engagement skills trainer prepares soldiers for future operations. And this is, they also have this posted on this website. And it's the DoD website. It's all these videos you can watch. And on one of them it says, laser weapons bring sharp advantages to the battlefield. And there's a video associated with that. And it says the Army and Navy are increasingly incorporating laser weapons on a limited number of platforms and training exercises, and more, but I don't have time to talk about it. Soldiers use laser system to destroy drone during exercise. Picatinny engineers granted patent for indirect fire munition, non-lethal cargo carrier mortar. Remember when that young man was hit in the head by that canister for those non-lethal bullets
Yeah.
that were fired out in California. Remember? And he was a veteran.
Yeah.
American and Canadian military police band together with field operations training. And one of the things they mentioned in this information I'm reading from is the operation called, and it was recent, Vigilant Guard. That operation that Camp Ripley participated in as well, Vigilant Guard, was in part, maybe in great part, to do with civil disturbance training. Vigilant Guard.
Civil disturbance.
Right. Okay, so this article's titled 165 AW Security Forces Civil Disturbance Training. National Guard and Albanian Infantry train on crowd riot control. And then it gives a video archive weapons program here of all kinds of things that people can look up. And then I also researched a little bit this morning and didn't get too far into it, but I want to read what it says about a police force is a constituted body of persons empowered by the state to enforce the law, protect property, and limit civil disorder. So it is one of their jobs.
Right.
Their powers include the legitimized use of force. The term is most commonly associated with police services of a sovereign state that are authorized to exercise the police power of that state with a defined legal or territorial area of responsibility. Police forces are often defined as being separate from military or other organizations involved in the defense of the state against foreign aggressors. However, gendarmerie are military units charged with civil policing.
So what's happening is that the military is training the police to create, if they deem it necessary, a police state, a military takeover, a possible show of force against the citizenry to get them to step into line.
And I think we have enough time for me to, or you better yet, to read this quick letter that I wrote to Ron Kresha and Paul Gazelka.
We got a minute left, so let's see if we can. Ron and Paul, I am extremely disappointed in your financial shortchanging of our most vulnerable children. As you know, I asked you years ago numerous times to end the disparity between foster care stipend and adoption subsidy for difficult-to-place children. And I specifically opposed lowering foster care stipend in order to raise funding for permanency placement. The children in the foster care system are all of our responsibility, not just that of one couple or a single person willing to commit a lifetime to a difficult placement. I have been a foster care respite provider for 5 years, an adoptive mom of 2 difficult-to-place children, a biological mother of 2, and even considered 4 more adoptions. Lack of funds to raise the extra kids was always an issue, as I was never even middle income. And I'm not alone in this. Dozens of foster care adoptive parents I have met over the years have all been lower or middle income. Wealthy Minnesotans are not adopting American foster care kids. They tend to adopt internationally or hold out for a beige child. Jake, I know you're willing to help these 2 guys see the light. All they have to do is ask. You are the best one to consult after your years of dedication to the children of foster care, of our nation in foster care. It is your job, Ron and Paul, to ensure the children stuck in our broken foster care system find forever homes quickly. The bond is the most important thing in a kid's life, not bloodlines. There are studies to prove this. I have recently spoken with 2 more families who quit doing foster care after the amount of stipend was reduced to cover permanency funding. Both of you claim a faith in Christ. It is hard to figure out how Christ wants us to treat. It isn't hard to figure out how Christ wants us to treat children. He set the example. Now you and I must live up to that example. Will you? The other thing is this. In the long run, it is far more cost-effective to fund foster homes. The Annie Casey study proved years ago that kids fare better in society with a family that sticks with them, rather than that child aging out of foster care.
Go ahead and keep on. There's been shows that have exceeded one.
Far less
1 hour.
pregnancies, dropout rates, and incarceration time when kids have a family that cares forever. Imagine if your kids had only temporary support from you. There would be lawsuits eventually from kids who do not get forever homes. Once they figure out they got stiffed by the system that was rigged against them, they will sue. Just as the young 10-year-old girl who got the attention recently about foster care kids entitled to a lawyer to help defend them. This is no different. Forever homes are a birthright, a human right. Nothing will stain you and your party more than not getting this issue right, and that takes money. Kids should not need a lobbyist to get the love and permanent home they deserve. Thank you for voting to fund child welfare properly.
As a response, I sent this to someone who's tracked almost everything I've done right from the beginning. This person writes, I wish 10% of the public cared half as much as you do. They love tax cuts, and the good Christians are giving it to them. There are so many reasons I respect you, and this is another. I hope you keep on fighting. And with that, we'll have to wrap it up.
Yes, we're running over time here, and our producer is making all kinds of hand gestures to us. So thank you so much for joining us on this issue of Can We Talk, and we hope to see you again soon.
And he's not the producer, we are, remember?
Oh, that's right. Our cameraman. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.